Welcome to the Chasing Spirituality podcast. I'm your host, Megan, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Each episode is full of heartfelt and expansive content that will really help you expand your consciousness and grow as a person. I created this podcast because I wanted to share my own personal experiences on my spiritual journey, but I also wanted to meet others and have them share what they've been through and how they've gotten to where they are today. If you haven't done so already, it would really mean a lot to me if you could rate and review the podcast. This really helps the podcast grow and reach more people, but it also allows me to get more guests on the show. Now on to today's topic. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Chasing Spirituality. I'm so glad that you're joining me. If you're new here, my name is Megan and I'm your host. And this week we're going to be talking about spirit circles. Spirit circles are a fun way to practice. They're a fun way to develop your skills, develop your mediumship or psychic abilities, depending on the type of circle that you are participating in. And it's also just really fun. It's a really great way to meet like-minded people, to make connections, and they're just fun. So if you have not done a spirit circle before, I'm going to kind of give you an overview of what that really kind of looks like. And I can't speak for every spirit circle. I mean, it really depends on the type of spirit circle and what the intention is. And it also depends on the leader of the circle. You don't necessarily need a circle leader. A lot of times people that have a group of friends and they know that they kind of have the same intention and the same goals, they can develop their own circle without necessarily having a leader. But I will say it's a good idea to have a leader, even if that leader shifts or changes every week or every month, depending on how frequently you do the circle, because you want someone who's going to be responsible for making sure things go smoothly, making sure that if there's anyone that needs assistance, guidance, or extra support, there's someone there that can aid all of those. And it really just depends on the needs. You also want to make sure that there's going to be someone there that's going to initiate the circle. They're going to plan it. They're going to schedule it. So, you don't need a leader, but you definitely want someone who's going to at least take charge and make sure that things are going efficiently. So, in my experience, most of the time, circles are done as a way to build community between people, but also as a way to practice without there being so much pressure. And the way that this looks is, say you're doing a practice circle for mediumship, and you've got 10 people that are in this circle. The way that it's done for beginners, so a beginner circle would be, there would be typically a time where everyone can meditate or clear their mind. This is normally pretty brief if it's done during the circle, just because you don't want to take up too much time. There's also circles out there where they require you to do all of your grounding, centering, meditation, clearing, all of that before you join the circle. And I think that this works really well for more intermediate or advanced circles. But for beginner circles, it's really hard to expect beginners to do all of that prep work if they haven't had any training or they haven't taken any courses or classes, or they haven't worked with a mentor in this area. So that's really important if you're trying to find a circle, is you want to make sure that the type of circle matches where you're currently at. So for me, someone who does mediumship and psychic readings professionally, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for me to go to a beginner circle, because I don't need any of that prep work. I don't need anyone to kind of walk me through the steps of centering and sitting in the power and grounding, and maybe even giving a lesson beforehand so that I feel more comfortable with what's about to happen. But, someone who has never done mediumship before, or someone who's only practiced a couple times on people that they're close to, they may be really uncomfortable, entering a circle, and then they're just supposed to immediately start reading. So it's really important to kind of see where you're at and what your goals are and find a circle that meets you where you're currently, sitting. So for a beginner circle, most of the time, this would have a lot of the prep work built into it. So say you've got a practice circle and the circle is supposed to last an hour. They might do a 15-minute guided meditation where you can ground, you can center, and then at that time, you meet with spirit and you write down everything that comes through to you. Then there's the sharing portion of the circle where anyone that feels that they should share or that they want to share, they will go around and they will say to the entire group, so I felt this presence come in. It felt like a man. He felt like he was someone's father, or he felt like he was someone's grandfather. He felt like he was in his 70s and he walked with a limp, or he was bald, or, just whatever happened to come through. And then it will be the people in the circle's responsibility to claim that spirit. And what happens in spirit circles is really interesting. There's no spirit circle that is the same. A lot of times everyone will connect to the same spirit because that spirit tends to be very strong and has a very strong connection. Or sometimes it'll be swapped where you're reading for someone and, their loved one came through and then your loved one came through for them. So it's really different on how it works. There's usually patterns. There's usually some kind of synchronicities that happen in these circles, but they're all beautiful the way that they unfold, and it makes you realize that, spirit is really in control, and spirit always has a say in what really happens and what really transpires in these circles. So one of my favorite things about spirit circles, and this was what I experienced when I first started developing mediumship. So I'm just going to be honest, and I've probably said this in the podcast before. I was terrified, legitimately terrified to go to one of these circles. But I took this course and we had weekly spirit circles where we would get together once a week and we would have this kind of situation. Now, this was for beginners. We were all complete beginners. Our teacher we would have lessons throughout the week that would kind of tell us more about the spiritual world. To be honest, they didn't really guide us much on the mediumship side of it, but they did tell us more about what to expect from spirit and the spiritual world in general. And then at the beginning of the spirit circle class, when we would meet, the teacher would meet with us and she would tell us what she was feeling from spirit, and she would basically give us guided messages on what she was feeling was really dominant. And she would instruct us to, say whatever comes to you. Don't be afraid. No matter how silly or how small it sounds, you have to say exactly how spirit sends it to you. If spirit is sending it to you in an image, say exactly what that image looks like. If you're hearing it, say exactly what you hear. Don't try to associate a meaning to it. Don't try to make sense of it. Just simply say it as it is, and it will, if it's for someone here in today's circle, it will resonate with them and we'll be able to work through it. And so then she would take us into a guided meditation where we would relax and ground and center, and we would open ourselves up to receive messages. And then at that point, we would take turns, each sharing what came through to us. And after, one person would share all of the information and all the insights that came through, we would raise our hand if we felt like that we wanted to claim that spirit, basically. And if someone was able to claim majority of the details, then that person would receive the reading. And they would validate what was real, what was correct. Now, I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. Not everything that we said to each other was correct. Even when we did connect with someone's loved one, there were still things that we got wrong. And that's very normal. Mediums that have been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years are still getting information that's not 100% accurate because spirit communicates with us in messages and signs and symbols, and there's no way that we're going to 100% have the same interpretation and the same perception that our sitter does or that the spirit wants us to. So we were always encouraged not to be afraid of getting things wrong, and I know that that's so much harder said than done, because that's exactly how I felt. I was like, you're telling me not to be scared, but I'm terrified. I'm so scared that I'm going to get something wrong, or that I'm just making all this up in my head, or that everything that I'm saying is really just absolutely nothing. It's just my own delusions, And I went into this feeling this way, but Spirit encouraged me, and so did my teacher, to just say it. You're in a practice setting. What's the harm? If you get things wrong, if you don't connect to someone's loved one, then so be it. Like, it's practice, so there's no pressure. And so I did. I put myself out there, and I would say what came to me. I would say how I felt, how Spirit made me feel. And I would say at least like 90% of what I said overall throughout the entire course was accurate. I was able to get it validated by someone in the class. They were able to validate the information that came through for me. And it was so eye-opening for me in those moments that, oh my gosh, I truly am doing this. I really am a medium. I truly am connecting with Spirit. And it's actually a lot easier than I thought it was. A lot easier. And it was really just really eye-opening for me. I had an epiphany, to be honest. And so I would say practice circles, in my opinion, that is what is inspiring. That is what you get from a practice circle. I mean, yeah, it's great to be able to practice, because who doesn't like to practice their abilities and their skills? But for me, the most rewarding thing of a practice circle was the validation, and having someone tell me, like, yeah, that is my grandfather. He did have a weird smirk. He was really sick towards the end and lost mobility. These things that I thought that I was just randomly thinking and making up, no, they really were messages from Spirit. And I just didn't know. And it makes you realize that you're constantly connected to Spirit. You're connected to Spirit all the time. You just don't realize it. Spirit is constantly communicating with you, constantly sending you messages. So when you're able to focus, clear your mind, and set an intention, and then have someone validate it for you, it makes it a lot more obvious. So that's the benefits of a Spirit circle. And they can change. They can all be different depending on what your needs are, what level you're at, and what kind of practice circle it is. And I encourage you that, if you're really into developing your own skills, whether that's because you want to do this professionally, or you just want the validation for yourself, you want to be able to, trust yourself and the messages that you receive, practice. Find a practice circle. There's plenty of them out there. Practice with some friends if you want to, or find a circle that you can join. If you want more instruction, make sure that you're following a teacher that you really resonate with, that is going to provide you with a structure that's also going to help you grow and help you feel safe, because it's really important that you do feel safe in the container that you're in. The community that I'm developing, that I plan to launch in the spring, it's the Chasing Spirituality community. We're going to have at least one circle every month, and it will be a practice circle. And a lot of my listeners are more on the beginner level. So I know that I'm going to have a beginner practice circle where there will be a lesson, and we will talk about things that will help you feel more confident in your abilities. And depending on how that community goes and how many people sign up and what their levels are, I may also add, a more advanced circle. So if you're interested in this kind of community where you can actually have practice and you can make relationships with these kind of people and have live lessons with me, make sure you join the waitlist, because that's really going to help me understand how many people are really interested in this, and who, actually, what they need from me, basically. It's really going to help me determine that. And the more people that I have sign up, the lower price I'll be able to offer this community at. So you can go to my website, and under the community tab, there will be more information about the community that I'm building, as well as a link to get to the waitlist. The waitlist does not sign you up for anything. You're not required to stay in the community at any point. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's really just me gauging who has interest in this, so that I know when is the right time to launch it, and I can offer it at a very low and hopefully reasonable price. So thank you for listening. I'm super excited to talk about this topic, because I mean, spirit circles are they're so important, and they just helped me so much. Like, they really did. It was like an epiphany for me. And I know that many of you have been interested in practice circles, so I hope that this kind of gives you a better idea of what you can expect when the community is launched. And I hope that you keep practicing. I hope that you have faith in yourself. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or reach out to me on Instagram. And if you have any episode recommendations, any questions about mediumship, I would like to do a Q&A episode in the future. So make sure you send me all of your questions, and I will try to compile a list and do a big Q&A episode. So until next time, bye. Wait, before you go, I want to share how you can receive a free reading with me. Listeners of the podcast, if you go and leave me a review on Apple and then send me that review to chasingspirituality.com, you can get a chance to win a free reading of your choice. This can be psychic or mediumship. Once a month, I will choose one of the listeners to receive the reading. And I won't pull your name out of the drawing until you're chosen. This will help the podcast grow, but will also allow me to give back to my listeners. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone you love. And it would mean so much to me if you could rate, review, and subscribe so that the podcast can reach and assist more people. Until next time, I'm sending you so much love.